Hello everybody, and welcome back to a special episode of Gentoo.
It's Halloween!
Whoa, where the f*** did you come from?
From the abyss.
Should we get into news?
Extra spooky news.
Well, there are some Halloween games.
Then let's trick or treat.
After 13 years, Shadows of the Damned is getting a full remastered. Take the road trip of a lifetime with hot-blooded Garcia Hotspur and his bony buddy Johnson as they track through the underworld on a quest to rescue Garcia's lover, Paula, from the Lord of the Underworld, Fleming. Fight through fiendishly funky dungeons wielding the powers of light and dark in tandem and use them to blast your way through hell. Try out this cult classic when it releases on October 31st for PC, Switch, Xbox, and PlayStation.
Fall into a terrifying, twisted reality with post-trauma. Take control of Roman, a train conductor that was awoken in a warped, surreal new reality following a terrible panic attack. Face abhorrent architecture and nightmarish aberrations. Choose to defend yourself with an arsenal of various weapons, or try your luck sneaking past and finding the path of least resistance. Post-trauma blends fixed camera angles and the stunning visuals provided by Unreal Engine 5. Piece together an ongoing mystery as you attempt to escape an ever-changing hellscape. A delicate balance of patience and cunning to fight your way out of post-trauma. Post-trauma releases on PC, PS5, and Xbox Series X and S on October 29th.
And now to dive into some scary tech news.
An investigation into a company named Babel Street by Atlas Data Privacy Corporation has revealed a vast tracking network that can follow the movements of individual people, even across state lines.
During the investigation, it was shown tracking a device from a home in Alabama to Lowe's, church, then to an abortion clinic in Florida.
Alongside these tracking apps growing in popularity, concerns have been growing about law enforcement being able to access more and more location data, led to companies like Google to auto-delete abortion clinic visits from a user's location history.
The tracking app, LocateX, uses the mobile advertising ID that Google and Apple use to serve personalized ads.
LocateX is supposed to be limited in its use. It is technically only supposed to be used by government agencies like the Secret Service and Homeland Security.
But in the course of their investigation, Atlas hired a private investigator to pose as a prospective customer.
The Babel Street salesperson mentioned Location X to the private investigator, but said it was for government employees only.
The private investigator mentioned that he was thinking about getting into government work. The salesperson then responded with, "That's good enough, they don't actually check that stuff."
Following this investigation, Atlas Data Privacy Corporation has filed a lawsuit against Babel Street for violations of privacy.
Well, let's hope they aren't tracking us.
No kidding, that's actually scary.
Well, let's not dwell on it too long.
You're right. Time for Corby's Content Corner.
That's more like it.
Now that we're getting pretty deep into this series here, I've been receiving some feedback about this new season, and I thought it was time I finally left a response. To the haters. This new season sucks. Where are the jokes? Corby really fell off. Oh yeah? Well, you fell off. So... Take that, haters. Anyways, welcome back to Corby's Content Corner, the show where I talk about games I'm passionate about. Now, last episode I talked about Battlefield 1 and what it did that Call of Duty couldn't. But today I want to talk about something a little less mainstream. Dare I say, indie. Maybe even, I don't know, a silly roguelike bird's eye dungeon crawling shooter? Oh yeah, today we're talking about Enter the Gungeon. Enter the Gungeon was released by my favorite indie publishing studio, Devolver Digital, on April 5th of 2016. This game is based around a group of people called Gungeoneers who found themselves in a dangerous place called the Gungeon, all with the goal to retrieve a weapon to help them kill the past. Only problem is, to retrieve this weapon, you must fight through 5 floors of enemies and bosses that take you deeper and deeper into the Gungeon and progressively get harder every floor you go. Enter the Gungeon is classified as a roguelike game, which means it's all about trial and error, and when you fail, you get back up and start again fresh. And it's not just the same map every time. The gungeon is randomly generated, meaning no attempt is the same as the last. On top of this, there's also over 100 different enemies and 25 bosses that you can fight, as well as over 220 weapons for you to acquire. As you start out, you find that most of your games are spent slowly learning the attack patterns of all your foes and rescuing people down in the gungeon to help you unlock new weapons and gear to find in later attempts. This game is all about learning from your mistakes and slowly expanding your arsenal until you're able to make it to the 5th level and finally take down that final boss. Look, the truth is, this game is just too big to fit into 3 minutes. So let me just say this. I love this game. It is such a fun and animated goof fest of a roguelike. From all the fun enemies, to the large amount of wacky weapons, even to the gun puns they fit into every inch of this world. I have over 250 hours in this game, and still haven't unlocked all the items it holds. Now that's crazy. Enter the Gungeon received a perfect 10 out of 10 rating on Steam and has been viewed as one of Devolver Digital's most successful titles. So successful, they later got a sequel, Exit the Gungeon, which honestly isn't too bad. Maybe I'll talk about that another time. But until then, I'll see you guys next week.
Aaron, you want to see something cool?
Yes, I would love to see something
Check
cool.
this out.
Whoa, is that a dragon?
It's a little tiny dragon. Well, it's actually not a dragon. His name's Yakuza.
Yakuza. That's a gang in Japan.
Well, that's actually all the gangs in Japan,
Oh, really?
I think.
What, did we learn about it this week at all?
Yeah, we do, on Storylines.
Ah.
Welcome back to Storylines, the show where I talk about how one character within the game isn't just a faceless, non-playable character or NPC, but an important story device to the world and player. Let's dive into the storylines of this NPC in Yakuza Like a Dragon. The game is about a man set on a path of revenge and to redeem himself from being betrayed by his clan while joined by friendly party members. Today, I will discuss the NPC Ryo Aoki and his impact on the main character, Ichiban Kasuga. Ryo Aoki, formerly known as Masato Arakawa, is a manipulative and high-standing figure in the public, as he is the governor of Tokyo during the game. The story between these two is well written, but also stuffed with many layers, such as how Aoki is a giant part of Ichiban's life when he himself hates Ichiban and everything he stands for. At the beginning, Aoki kind of treats Ichiban as just a lowly servant. Ichiban is tasked with being there for the young master, like wheel him around due to a health condition Aoki has. Ichiban, a grunt in the clan, views Aoki as a helpless and sad person due to this health condition. He offers to be there for him always and acts as sort of like a bodyguard and a right-hand man. Hence why Ichiban takes the fall for Aoki when he wrongfully kills a rival Yakuza member, as he means so much to Ichiban that he would take a metaphysical bullet for him. Later, when Ichiban gets his feet back on the ground, he learns that Aoki changed his name from Masato Arakawa to what we now know is Ryo Aoki. This massive shift results in him abandoning his Yakuza life, becoming the governor of Tokyo to rid the Yakuza in Japan, and even resent his own father.
I expected the Tojo clan to fall hard, but I didn't think some third-rate Tojo vermin like Dad could ever worm his way into their top ranks.
Ichiban manages to create a plan to get Aoki to admit to his wrongdoings, which works as a great success. While this evidence against Aoki would prove to anyone that he is beyond redeeming, Ichiban does not believe so and pursues to break through the rough exterior that Aoki has set up against him. A key point here is the fact that Ichiban refuses to fight him to death when his actions would warrant some type of punishment. Instead, he views him as someone who can still be saved, with second chances being a huge theme in the game. Finally, Ichiban pours his heart and soul out to Aoki, calling on previous memories they shared. He goes on about how he's like the brother he never had, and how he always wanted to protect him, like when he first joined the clan. Aoki, stricken with grief and distraught, finally cracks. A deep-seated feeling of brotherly love existed within Aoki for Ichiban, but his anger for the Yakuza blinded him. Only Ichiban could break through and bring Ryo Aoki back to his old self, Masato Arakawa. Unfortunately, this story does end in grief, when Aoki is stabbed and killed by a former follower of his movement. There, he slowly dies in Ichiban's hands, coming full circle with himself and dying with peace between him and Ichiban. And that brings this story to a close. Join me next week for an NPC from the sequel game, Like a Dragon: Infinite Wealth. This is your host, Logan Hill, signing off.
Here at Tower Yearbook, we are a dedicated staff of photographers, designers, copywriters, and practicum students.
Our staff is a student-led, student-run media outlet, producing a book with over 300 pages. Be sure to pop out at any of our portrait or distribution events.
So stay tuned to our social media to see what's up.
Finger paints.
Water. Egg. Glue. Glitter. By golly, it's perfect!
What is it?
It's loosely related. Thursdays at noon. Dude, this job is not what I intended it to be.
Yeah,
Wait,
this is
wait, do you hear that?
something laughing.
Dude, I hear. I'm just gonna be still. You're for yourself now. I'm just gonna stand very
Oh,
still.
you gotta be kidding me. Oh, something's coming. Dude, you can't leave me here. You can't. Oh no.
Well, I guess we need help wanted now.
Put on these glasses, and you'll enter the world of the game.
Hello everybody and welcome to my reality. My name is Aaron and you're watching Aaron's Reality, the show that finds a sadistic pleasure in making its audience dizzy. But, to be honest with you guys, this isn't really paying the bills. I actually had to pick up a second gig as an overnight security guard. Five Nights at Freddy's Help Wanted. The FNAF franchise was created by Scott Cawthon and the very first game released on August 8th, 2014. The game consists of a variety of animatronics attempting to scare the ever-loving out of you. On May 28, 2019, Cawthon released Help Wanted. It collects the first 5 mainline games and puts them into a single VR title. Additionally, the game includes multiple maintenance mini-games. Later that year in October, a non-canon Halloween DLC titled Curse of the Dreadbear was released, and it included some fun new mini-games that were reminiscent of the base game, but still being unique in their own way. At first glance, gameplay would appear to be just a simple porting of the original 5, but it's more thought out than that. The original games were point and click, with your movement being restricted to specific locations. Although most game modes do still restrict your locations, due to it being in VR, they had to fully rebuild the environments. The added content is just as well made. However, when you're in maps where you can move around, they're not all that big. Level of detail would be a well-built 7 out of 10. When it comes to horror games, I get too immersed for my own good. When fear enters my body, all sense of reality leaves. That's how I am with standard games on a monitor. Putting me into FNAF via VR just makes it so much scarier. That would put this at a super high score. The thing that brings me out of the immersion is when I'm scared over and over again. When that happens, I'm no longer scared and rather annoyed that I just can't get past the obstacle. Still, my cowardice will make the immersion a horrifying 8 out of 10. Other than a couple of game modes, you are kept into a stationary position or teleported to where you need to be. If you've been watching this show, you'd know how that is wonderful for avoiding motion sickness. On the other hand, you'd expect to feel sick with walkable environments, but surprisingly enough, that wasn't the case here. It may be due to the lack of lighting or the low speeds, but I felt pretty good for the most part. Motion sickness will get a healthy 9 out of 10. The aesthetics of the Freddy's locations range from a grimy, decrepit office to a fun-time play place. After half a decade, FNAF has established a well-recognizable look that has been compiled here. As of the time of recording, it's been a full decade, and it's further fleshed out its personality. This franchise is so big and well-loved that there isn't much more for me to add, so I'll say the buy will be a well-earned 9 out of 10. Which is going to give us an overall score of 8.25 out of 10. I've seen so many Let's Plays, game theories, and the movie, but ironically enough, I'd never played a single FNAF title until recording this. To be honest, I'm horrible with horror games, and was too scared to touch it. Well, if you want to play Five Nights at Freddy's Help Wanted, you can buy it on Steam or PS4. You technically don't even need a VR headset to play. That's all for this video, and I hope you guys have a good night.
Hey guys, don't forget to check out Forgotten Games this week, where we're checking out Sonic Generations for the 3DS.
I'm Taden Hensley, and welcome back to Forgotten Games. Let's do something a little different today. With the recent release of Sonic and Shadow Generations, it made me think about how Sonic Generations is a forgotten game. But you're probably thinking, how can Sonic Generations be a forgotten game if they're making a new version and people are still talking about it? Well, today, we're not talking about the version of Sonic Generation that everybody remembers. We'll be talking about the 3DS version. Sonic Generations for the 3DS was released on November 22nd, 2011, and was developed by Sonic Team and Dimps. The company Dimps is well known for making handheld Sonic games in the past like Sonic Colors on the DS, Sonic Rush, and Sonic Advanced on the Game Boy Advance. Sonic Generations on the 3DS has some similarities from its console counterparts, but also some differences. The plot of the game is about Sonic celebrating his birthday with Tails until the Time Eater that was discovered by Dr. Eggman shows up, leaving them in a white space, and Sonic and Tails find younger versions of themselves and go through familiar levels, familiar bosses, and take down the Time Eater. There are 7 stages, and each of them have 2 acts. Act 1, where you'll play as classic Sonic, and Act 2, where you'll play as modern Sonic. Then, after you complete both levels in each stage, you unlock a special stage where you collect a Chaos Emerald. Both Sonics play differently, and their levels are different as well. Classic Sonic levels are only 2D, and his gameplay is more slow than modern Sonic's. Classic Sonic only gains speed from the momentum rolling down hills and spin dashing. He also later gains the ability of the homing attack, unlike the console version where you have to collect all of the red star rings to unlock it. Then with modern Sonic, his levels both have 3D and 2D mechanics, and has a boost gauge to make him run fast when he collects more rings and has the ability to stomp. Sonic Generations on the 3DS also features a versus mode where you can race with friends and do challenges with local play and online play. Well, at least before Nintendo shut down the Wi-Fi a few months ago. Sonic Generations on the 3DS is overall just a decent game due to its limitations, especially in the cutscenes as it only uses images from its console counterpart to tell the story on some scenes, and how Tails is the only one at Sonic's birthday, while on the console a lot more of its friends are there. But the 3DS version does do a good job paying homage to older Sonic levels. Sonic the Hedgehog games have been known to not be all that great, but handheld Sonic games in the past have been good and well developed. But Sonic Generations on the 3DS is just in the middle for me. But if you didn't have a PlayStation, Xbox, or PC growing up, like me, try this version out. But at the end of the day, the console versions are just a lot more better. And with that, that is all the time I got. I'm Taden Hensley, and this has been Forgotten Games.
Hey man, what are you doing this Saturday to Sunday?
Oh, you know, I'm just going to see the Ducks play.
Dude, I am for the Ducks!
Hello everyone, my name's Kendall, and welcome back to another episode of Saturday to Sunday, the show where we follow Dale Doback, a senior quarterback at the University of Oregon, as he plays through his final year of college football. A quick jump to look at the rankings where we're still sitting number 1 with a 5-0 record, and jumping over to the Heisman race to show I'm still leading that as well. This week, we're hitting the road once again and heading to Bloomington, Indiana to take on the 2-2 Indiana Hoosiers in a Big Ten Conference matchup. Quickly finding ourselves on a 3rd and 4 on our first drive, I knew we needed to score. On this play, my middle receiver in the bunch to the left is running about a 15-yard in. The safety on the top right leaves his spot, which opens up a massive window for my receiver to pick up a decent chunk of yards. Another 3rd down play on our opening drive, but this time we're on the verge of scoring. The play we had called was in a stick concept, which is just 3 receivers running quick horizontal routes to spread the defense to get the ball out quickly. This was a solid play call because of the down and the look the defense was giving us. The defense came out in a 4-2-5 defense, 4 linemen, 2 linebackers, 5 defensive backs. The package was a double mug look, which is when they show 2 linebackers lined up on the center. My first read is the receiver split out left, running a quick slant. After that, it's throw it to whoever's open. Unfortunately, I didn't get the ball out in time, and it resulted in the Hoosiers' first sack of many that were to come. Up by 3 and possession on our own 6-yard line. This drive is not starting out too good. We are running a play action rollout to the wide side of the field. the lead going into half. Once again, we're running a stick play with a normal pass protection where the linemen drop back and pick up whatever they see coming at them. Unfortunately, my left tackle completely misses the defensive end, which results in me getting sacked again. After an Indiana touchdown to open up the second half, we find ourselves with a 3rd and 11 needing to score to keep us in the game. My lone receiver to the left is able to get a good jump off the ball and beat his man deep down the field for a 62-yard touchdown to tie the game at 10. After a very boring, scoreless fourth quarter, we find ourselves with our backs against the wall heading into overtime with the Hoosiers. Indiana scored on their first drive of overtime to go up 17-10. Unfortunately, we could not get the ball in the end zone. We end up dropping our first game of the season to the Hoosiers on the road, which could hurt us very badly in the long run. My very subpar performance and being sacked 7 times was a huge detriment to the team, and it showed. Now all we can do is brush it off and begin preparing as the Rutgers Scarlet Knights come to town next week.
Are you sick and tired of not knowing enough about life's trickiest questions and need answers now? Well, introducing Now You Know, your place to learn everything about anything with our host, the studious Alexander Snodderly.
You can count on me.
And if you call now, we'll even include our co-host, Katie Bird, as she talks one-on-one with viewers like you. Thanks, Katie Bird. Catch us Wednesdays at noon on KNWT TV.
Now you know!
Man, I appreciate and love you, dude.
Same here, Gabe. I appreciate and love you.
Are you getting that in the air? Like a little...
There's
oh, jeez.
going on.
Oh.
Wow, it hurts a lot.
Well, that's The Last of Us.
Hello, my name is Shelby Troxel, and you're watching Respawn Cinema, a show where we dive into video games and their on-screen adaptations. Today we are looking at The Last of Us, following our post-apocalyptic pals Joel and Ellie in a survivor horror game, but make it post-apocalyptic zombie wasteland. Focusing on our particular chapter that made us all weep like babies. Yes, I'm talking about Bill and Frank. Now grab your tissues, because if you're like me, you're still emotionally dehydrated from this. So now that we know some of the background, let's start with the game. In the original Last of Us game, Bill's that grumpy survivalist who's like your overly paranoid uncle, but with more booby traps and a surprisingly accurate shotgun aim. He helps Joel and Ellie after they get caught in one of his, let's call them trust issues, and while Bill has his comedic moments, his relationship with Frank is barely explored. You learn about it through little hints, letters, and some very subtle storytelling. By the time you piece together the relationship, Frank's, well, already gone. Yeah, it's not exactly a heartwarming love story. But then the show comes along and oh boy, Max gave Bill and Frank an upgrade that's better than finding a fully loaded ammo stash in the game. In the TV adaptation, we get a full-blown, emotionally charged love story. Bill goes from crazy doomsday prepper to domestic gardener with a soft side. And Frank becomes the person who completely changes Bill's life. I don't know about you, but I'll never look at fruit the same way again. They added depth to these characters and gave us one of the most touching post-apocalyptic love stories ever, which is surprising because normally touching and post-apocalyptic are about as compatible as Joel and a quiet stroll through clicker territory. So what's the takeaway here? The game's version of Bill and Frank is tragic but subtle, leaving much to the imagination. It's like being given a few puzzle pieces and saying, good luck emotionally figuring this out. The show, on the other hand, hands you the entire puzzle, complete with a soundtrack that'll have you ugly crying by the end of it. The show expanded their relationship from hints of sadness to a full-blown romantic narrative, making the adaptation a richer experience. It's kind of like when you order a side salad and they bring you the entire buffet. In the end, whether you prefer the subtlety of the game or the emotional roller coaster of the show, one thing's for sure. Bill and Frank's story adds a layer of humanity in a world where clickers and hunters usually run it. This has been Shelby Troxel with Gentoo, reminding you that in an apocalypse, love still finds a way, usually through a really well prepped survivalist.
Gabe, how are we gonna get rid of these vampires? You ready?
There's vampires?
Yeah, there's vampires everywhere. We gotta load up.
Dude, I got a stick.
You need a stake, not a stick.
Dude, where am I gonna get a wooden cow? Let's just watch the pack.
Okay.
사랑하는 내 딸 다이아 조금 기다리렴. 엄마가 구해줄게.
Happy Halloween, everyone, and welcome to another installment of Descendant 101. It's Halloween, one of my favorite times of the year, so I couldn't think of a better time to talk about my favorite Descendant in the entire game. And she's sort of a vampire, kind of. She deals with blood. It's close enough. She's the Grim Reaper of the Vulgus forces. The more damage she takes, the more dangerous and the stronger she becomes. This episode's about Albion's blood angel, Gley. Gley is not an easy character to use, I won't lie to you, but also one of the most fun in my opinion. With Gley, you're essentially playing two entirely separate characters that do different things and have their own pros and cons to each side. She works very similar to Reaper's first build in the original Overwatch, back when he healed himself through life orbs dropped by enemies. Gley does that too, but in her own different and separate ways. So let's go over those abilities. First things first, much like Freyna last week, understanding Gley's passive is critical to understanding how her entire character works. Gley's passive is called Thirst. This passive removes Gley's ability to have a shield, as well as removes her MP bar like other Descendants. However, upon every other kill, enemies will drop a life sphere. Once you pick it up, this will charge Gley's abilities much like a normal MP bar would. It'll allow you to use more abilities more frequently, or use stronger ones that require more life spheres. Her first ability is called Frenzied, but it's more of a switch than it is an ability. Gley has two forms, Frenzied and Non-Frenzied. While Frenzied, when her hair turns white, Gley does more damage and her weapons have higher penetration, but her damage reduction is lower. But while she's not Frenzied, when her hair is brown, she has higher resilience and her health recovery is increased dramatically. Her second ability is called Life Siphon. While Frenzied, Gley will throw her hand up and cause a small area around her to explode. Any enemies damaged or killed will heal you. While not Frenzied, Gley will steal health from nearby enemies. The more enemies you're around, the more health you'll get. Increased Sensory is her third ability. While Frenzied, Gley's ammo count momentarily becomes infinite, but her movement speed is reduced. While not Frenzied, Gley's speed is doubled and life spheres are 2 times more likely to drop. Her fourth is a unique weapon called Massacre. While Frenzied, this weapon will do heavy damage until you run out of ammo for it. So pairing it with Increased Sensory's infinite ammo ability, it becomes a boss melter. But while not Frenzied, the bullets will stun enemies. Gley is easily one of the best boss fighters just because of that infinite ammo ability. But she's useful anywhere where she's outnumbered. The more enemies you're around to feed her bloodlust, the more you're going to get out of her. She's a lot of fun, but she is a little complicated to use. And pretty much 90% of the time I've been playing this game, it's been as Gley. So I can't recommend her enough. Next week, we're going to take a look at one of the more fun characters of the game since it's starting to get a little bit colder and might see snow on the ground soon. Sniper Fanatics, you're going to love this next one. This has been Zach Greiner on Gentoo. Happy Halloween, everyone, and take care.
And that's all we have for this spooky episode of Gentoo. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and toll that bell to make sure to tell us your favorite Halloween candy in the comments below. Dude, I kind of want to become a penguin. I think that'd be kind of cool.
You want to become a penguin?
Like a legit penguin.
Okay, I've got this. I've been practicing a spell for this actually, so it's gonna come in hot. 1, 2, 3, penguin!
I'm not a penguin, dude.
I'm not a gnolf.
Dude.
I'm not a gnoblin.
This didn't work at all.
I'm a gnome.
Okay.
And you've been gnome.
Let's just go. Come on. Let's go. Come on. Come on.